Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to the third time we're coming at you today on breaking news on this Tuesday, the 9th day of September, 2025, where so many things are happening right now. We came with you with a special report about an attack on the leadership of Hamas as they were meeting in Doha, Qatar, that Israel did this surprise attack. And now we're going to follow up on that. And like we said, as we call this breaking news part two, and actually it's part three. But anyway, the point is that here we are again, a few hours afterwards. And let me tell you something, there's still a lot of things we still don't know. But the more we learn about this attack on the leadership of Hamas, the story gets stranger and stranger, as you will see. Okay, let's look at it. First of all, four headlines we have. Months of preparation for attack on Hamas leaders in Qatar, the secret battle plan, the green light, and the heavy bombing. This is from YNET News. It kind of gives us the whole bit, everything that went on. Then this story. This is the one that was the real shocker. This is also from YNET. Trump feels very badly about the strike on Hamas targets in Qatar. We'll talk about what all that meant. Then Qatar, not surprisingly, condemns the cowardly Israeli attack on Hamas leadership. This is from the Jerusalem Post. And also from the Jerusalem Post, Qatar suspends mediation efforts in Gaza war after Israeli strike on its soil. All right, let's see what we know here now for sure. The first headline from Ynet: months of preparation for attack on Hamas leaders in Qatar, the secret battle plan, the green light, and the heavy bombing. Again, Ynet News. Operation Summit of Fire was carried out with the secret approval of the Security Cabinet and to ensure the successful elimination of senior figures. And to ensure it, fighter jets dropped 10 bombs on this group that was meeting. Netanyahu was in the Shin Bet headquarters from where the operation was conducted, and although the decision was made a long time ago, he claimed that he ordered the elimination in response to yesterday's attack. That's the attack in Jerusalem that killed 6 people, the terrorist attack, and wounded some 21. So here's what happened. Israel on Tuesday afternoon launched an unprecedented strike against the leadership of Hamas in Doha, the capital of Qatar, using heavy bombs dropped by fighter jets more than 1,100 miles or 1,800 kilometers from Israel to ensure the killing of senior figures who were reportedly meeting to discuss U.S. President Donald Trump's latest hostage deal proposal. Drones also took part in the operation, which was named Summit of Fire. A total of 10 munitions were dropped. The decision to target Hamas leaders in Qatar had been made long ago, and according to two Israeli officials who spoke with CNN, the planning for the historic operation took place over 2 to 3 months and accelerated in recent weeks. And according to Netanyahu, the reason he did it today is because of what happened yesterday in Jerusalem. Now, that's all well and good, but here's the story that was really surprising, or actually rather shocking. Headline number two, also from Ynet. Trump feels very badly about the strike on Hamas targets in Qatar. Again, Ynet News. U.S. president didn't like the location of the attack in the heart of an ally's capital and spoke with Netanyahu. U.S. President Donald Trump feels very badly about Israel's strike on Hamas targets in Qatar. Now, get this. He actually directed a top aide, Steve Witkoff, to warn Qatar about the attack, that the attack was coming. The White House said on Tuesday. This from Press Secretary Karen Levin. We'll explain this in a minute. Hamas said 5 of its members have been killed in the Israeli attack in Doha, including the son of Hamas's exiled Gaza chief Khalil al-Hayya. However, seemingly none of the senior figures, none of the ones they were aiming for, were killed. Again, we don't know. Hamas is very secretive about all this. But here's what we do know, and here's what's very surprising. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said the U.S. military informed the administration on Tuesday morning that Israel's strike was going to take place. She would not answer when asked who informed the U.S. military. So someone from Israel told the U.S. ahead of time about this. And so here's what happened. When Trump learned about it, he directed U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to warn Qatar it was coming, she said. In other words, he wanted to head them off at the pass and not let this group be killed, not let the Hamas leadership be killed. After the strike, Trump spoke to both Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and also the Emir of Qatar, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, she said. He assured, this is Trump, assured the Qatar leader that such a thing will not happen again on their soil. Remember, U.S. has a military base there in Qatar. She referred to the strike as an unfortunate incident and said Trump feels very badly about the location of the attack. Unilateral bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals, she said. Now, that's all well and good, but here's what doesn't seem to make sense. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. It sounds like she just contradicted what she just said. Anyway, like I said, President Trump, when he found out, immediately directed Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. Here's the however, though. The Qatar Foreign Minister Majed Al-Ansari wrote on X following Levitt's remarks that claims that Qatar was notified in advance of the strike are false. The call came from a U.S. official as explosions were already being heard from the strike. In other words, the call came in too late to warn. The explosions were being heard when the call came in. Now, here we find out Israel's entire political and security leadership supported the operation to target Hamas leaders abroad, but among its top officials, a dispute emerged over the necessity of carrying out the strike now, just as Trump's new hostage deal proposal was put on the table earlier this week. The Shin Bet pushed for approval on Tuesday strike in Doha, Qatar, dubbed Operation Summit of Fire, arguing it was a rare opportunity to hit senior Hamas leaders gathered at a villa belonging to Khalil al-Hayya, who also serves as the group's chief negotiator. Some in Israel believed the move was necessary because the Hamas leadership abroad was holding hardline positions that prevented progress on a deal. Prime Minister Netanyahu, Defense Minister Israel Katz supported moving ahead immediately. And now get this, as did Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, who is currently in Washington. Dermer believed the Trump administration would not oppose such a strike in Qatar. They didn't tell him ahead of time. And when Trump found out, he tried to stop it. All right, but several senior officials, they give the names Zamir, the chief of staff, IDF chief of staff, the Mossad chief, David Barnea, a few others supported the targeting of Hamas leaders, but objected to the current timing, arguing that Israel should exhaust negotiations under Trump's new framework before escalating. The United States counts Qatar as a strong ally in the Gulf and has relied on Qatar to play an intermediate role in negotiations aimed at getting a ceasefire in the Gaza war. Qatar hadn't done a real good job, obviously. And the main worry, it seems, from Trump is we've got a military base there, and he doesn't want to see any possibility of that to being, removed because we need to be there, and that location is very strategic for the U.S. military. All right, now the next two headlines are expected. Qatar condemns cowardly Israeli attack on Hamas's leadership from the Jerusalem Post. The state of Qatar strongly condemns a cowardly Israeli attack that targeted residential buildings housing several members of the political bureau of Hamas in the Qatar capital of Doha, said Majid Al-Ansari, spokesperson of the Qatar Foreign Ministry. This criminal assault constitutes a blatant violation of all international laws and norms and poses a serious threat to the security and safety of Qataris and residents of Qatar, he added. While the state of Qatar strongly condemns this assault, it confirms that it will not tolerate this reckless Israeli behavior and the ongoing disruption of regional security, nor any act that targets its security and sovereignty. And then that brings us to headline number 4, which is a result probably expected. Qatar suspends mediation efforts in Gaza war after Israeli strike on its soil, also from the Jerusalem Post. Qatar has suspended its mediation efforts in response to targeting the terrorist organization leaders. The Gulf state announced on Tuesday the Hamas leader Khalid Mashal, who is viewed as a more pragmatic figure. Now, this is interesting. We put this in the story, was not in the building at the time of the attack, an Israeli source told the Jerusalem Post. With him, they say, it would be more likely to reach an agreement on ending the war in Gaza, the source said. And so he seems to be the pragmatist. And so I guess they wanted to get rid of the other leaders who were stopping some type of agreement. So that's why Israel did it. Now, there are conflicting stories out there concerning who exactly was killed in the attack. Was it the top leadership? The initial reports from Hamas say no, it's just some secondary figures. So we just don't know. So there's much we don't know, still much to learn, but that's where we're at right now. It's very confusing. Obviously, Netanyahu didn't warn Trump ahead of time, but somebody let the U.S. know, and it got to Trump, and he tried to stop it. Actually, in the sense that he wanted to tell, in fact, he did. He had Witkoff call Qatar and said, get the people out of the building. There's going to be attack right now by Israel. But unfortunately for the people in the building, the call came when the attack was going on, the explosions were taking place. So again, it's really a confusing story. Well, hopefully we'll know get some more sense out of this tomorrow, but that's where we're at right now. All right, I'm Don Stewart. Again, thank you so much for watching. And as always, until next time, may the Lord richly, richly bless you.